Mark Zuckerberg's neighbors in Palo Alto are a little bit upset with him right now. Zuckerberg has been on a buying spree around here since 2011. He has bought at least 11 homes in the same neighborhood, spending over $110 million in total. And the obvious questions that everyone's asking is why he is doing this. Who needs 11 houses in one neighborhood? What's the point? And what's the end goal? In a way, it feels like he's playing the game of Monopoly in real life as he scoops up one lot after another. And he's coming up with some creative things to do with these houses too, which we'll get into in this video. And another thing is that if you are new, please subscribe to our channel so that we can reach a lot of subscribers and make good entertainment. 9 neighbors have been brave enough to speak out, describing 8 years of constant construction, blocked driveways, debris in the street, and increased surveillance. Some neighbors are thinking that this isn't about just a billionaire protecting his privacy. There might be something bigger going on here. Today, let's talk about why Mark Zuckerberg is building a $100 million compound in a quiet neighborhood in Northern California. Rewinding back to 2011, Zuckerberg at that time was 27 years old. He was newly famous and kind of newly rich. He'd recently steered Facebook into the stratosphere and suddenly worth just under $20 billion. The year, he bought a 5-bedroom home in Palo Alto, California for $7 million by billionaire standards. It wasn't anything outrageous, but this one purchase would mark the start of a decade-long quest to own basically everything that surrounded this house. Within a couple of years, Zuckerberg heard that developers were circling. They might have wanted to buy the homes around him and build luxury mega mansions. And it's entirely possible that those mega mansions would have prime views straight into the backyard of his home. For a guy who has been stalked by paparazzi and was already living in the public eye, a lack of privacy at home was basically unacceptable. At this point in time, what Zuckerberg did probably anybody with $20 billion would do. And he started buying up all of his neighbors' houses. He didn't just buy just 1 or 2. He actually started with 4 of them at a cost of about $44 million. The 4 homes, they weren't sprawling estates. They were modest by Silicon Valley standards at that time. Zuckerberg's representative explained that the purchases were purely a privacy matter, but even if there were developers who had approached some of the owners and floated the idea of building these luxury homes that would tower over Zuckerberg's backyard, to most people that would mean planting taller hedges or maybe putting in a better security fence, but Zuckerberg's solution was more extreme. The issue from here, though, is that Zuckerberg's solution created a brand new problem. Once he owned these homes, he wanted to tear them down and rebuild, not into mega mansions, he claimed, but into smaller residences that would better blend with the neighborhood and preserve his privacy. The way they described it is almost like he was trying to build himself a moat around his house, but instead of a traditional moat with water, he was just going to build a bunch of buildings around his house. Over the next decade, Zuckerberg didn't stop with just those 4 houses. One by one, he kept buying. Sometimes it was the property directly next door. Sometimes it was a house a little further down the street. By 2025, the total home count was up to 1111 homes that he now owned in this tiny neighborhood that were valued in total at over $110 million. Another interesting thing, too, is that their Zuckerberg wasn't just creating a network of homes at street level. He went underground as well. According to permits, there is around 7,000 square feet of subterranean space beneath this compound. While some development did happen for what appears to be Zuckerberg's primary family compound, not all 11 of these lots got the same treatment. Reportedly, a few of them were leased back to the families that sold them. Some of them were used for staff and security. Others were just left as shelves, leaving people wondering what would happen with them. Because that was the question. What exactly was the end goal here? About halfway through this whole extravaganza, something else appeared quietly on this block. Something completely unexpected, and that is that Zuckerberg tried to open a school. It wasn't just any school. It was a private in-home learning pod that opened up in one of the homes he bought. The school began operating somewhere around October 2022. According to a state affidavit, it was serving children from kindergarten through 4th grade, including Zuckerberg's 2 daughters and roughly a dozen other kids. There were at least 3 full-time teachers, 1 part-time teacher, an administrator, and an additional adult staffer, all working on site. Neighbors started to notice kids were being dropped off. The traffic obviously stood out in a residential area where school drop-offs and pickups weren't the norm. This triggered a formal inquiry by the city of Palo Alto, and eventually the city's planning director confirmed that the property was being used as a school, something the local zoning code clearly restricts. The law prohibits operating a business or a private educational facility in a single-family home if employees don't live on site, or if the activity generates more traffic than what would be typical for a residence. Zuckerberg and Chan's team insisted that this was just a homeschool pod, not a former school. And they noted that emergency pandemic conditions had led to the structure. They also tried to point out that you can't distinguish homeschool pods from traditional private schools in the system, which I think was their way of trying to justify them not pulling a required permit. This is definitely one of those I see both sides situations, because what they created here, this homeschooling pod, is just really a fancy billionaire's version of homeschooling from what I'm reading here. But I also do understand why the neighbors didn't like it.
Ultimately, the city determined that the school was out of compliance, and as of the last report, it has been officially abated, meaning the operation at that location had been ended. The school has since been moved to a different location outside of this neighborhood. Zooming out, you can definitely understand why there's been a lot of tension around this topic, especially for people who live right in the immediate area. Zuckerberg did have bigger dreams for his compound initially, but it wasn't just the neighbors who was pushing back. The Architectural Review Board denied one of his many applications to modify his property in 2016, where he wanted to demolish 4 of the 11 homes. They argue that the proposed compound just clashed with the city's vision for single-family neighborhoods as a whole. The thing is, though, when you go back and look at those plans, it's not like he wanted to tear down 4 houses and build one monster house. Of course, the clickbait made it sound that way, but he actually trying to build 4 individual houses, all which met all the setback and building height requirements. Palo Alto Online even reported that the architectural details of his plans were fine too. The broader issue here was the way what the new building would be used. These were single-family homes, and they were not supposed to house just one man, or his staff, or his extended family. Like, for example, they noted one of the houses he wanted to build had just a living room at one end, a kitchen at the other end, and a bedroom in between, which is not normal. Another one of the homes called for a large entertainment space, and what looked like a service kitchen rather than a family kitchen. I don't know how I feel about the city coming in and determining what is normal, or what is not normal. Like, if you want to build a 1-bedroom house, in my opinion, who's to say that that is not normal? Or if you want to build a house with a chef's kitchen, well, tons of mega mansions come with chef kitchens nowadays. So how is that not normal? It seems a bit to turn down all of these plans, but based on one reviewer's definition of normal. But I don't know, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Most everyone watching probably already knows that this is not the first time that Zuckerberg is playing his version of Monopoly. In real life in Hawaii, he recently bought thousands of acres of land. He's in the process of building a huge estate, and all of this has triggered controversy and lawsuits from local families who are accusing him of trying to push them off their ancestral property, which we will be talking about soon. In Lake Tahoe, he dropped nearly $100 million onto big properties, then quietly bought more land around them to expand his footprint. Everywhere he goes, then pattern seems to be the same. Buy the core property, and then slowly, and sometime relentlessly buy everything around it. Neighbors might not be happy, but if was one of those neighbors, I don't know. I might be like, hey Zuckerberg, $50 million in my house, and my house is all yours. Maybe that's just me though. I'll see you guys next video.
I just wanna ball like the big leagues. I just want a nice house on the shore. I just want a big house like Gatsby. So kiss me if you can. I'm chasing after my